My beloved child, stop scrolling for just a moment, because something has shifted in the unseen world, and what you are about to hear was meant to reach you before doubt could speak louder than destiny. There is a reason your heart has felt restless lately. There is a reason memories you thought had faded have returned without warning. There is a reason you have sensed someone's presence even in moments when you were completely alone. This is not happening because you are weak. It is not happening because you are trapped in the past. It is happening because a chapter you believed was closed has quietly begun to move again. Your soulmate is closer to returning than you realize, but an unexpected challenge has changed the path they thought they would take back to you. Pause here and listen carefully, because the truth is more complicated than it first appears. Your soulmate did not forget you. They did not simply move forward without looking back. They tried to silence what they felt. They tried to convince themselves that distance was easier than honesty. They filled their days with distractions, responsibilities, conversations, and routines that kept them from sitting alone with the truth. But every quiet moment brought your memory back. Every time they believed they had finally gained control over their emotions, something reminded them of you. A familiar song, a place, a phrase, a dream, or a feeling that arrived so suddenly it left them unable to breathe normally for a few seconds. They have been carrying words they never said. Words of regret. Words of love. Words of explanation. Words they rehearsed in their mind but never had the courage to send. There were nights when they opened your old messages and read them slowly, searching for the moment when everything began to change. They wondered whether they misunderstood you. They wondered whether pride stole something precious from both of you. They wondered whether you still felt the connection or whether they had waited too long. And then something happened. It was not dramatic in the way the world understands drama. There was no thunder in the sky, no sudden announcement, no obvious sign that everyone could see. It was a private moment. A quiet realization. A truth that entered their heart and refused to leave. Your soulmate finally understood that staying away from you was not bringing peace. It was only creating a deeper emptiness. They realized that the life they were trying to build without addressing what happened between you would always feel unfinished. That realization changed everything. They began to think seriously about returning. Not returning casually. Not sending a meaningless message just to test whether you would respond. They began imagining a real conversation. A conversation without games. Without avoidance. Without pretending they did not care. They pictured telling you what they had been afraid to admit. They pictured asking for forgiveness where forgiveness was needed. They pictured listening to your pain instead of defending their own choices. They pictured standing before you emotionally exposed, uncertain of what you might say, but finally willing to risk rejection rather than continue living with regret. They were closer to reaching out than you know. There was a moment when their hand hovered over the phone. Your name was right there. Their heart was beating faster. They had typed a message, deleted it, rewritten it, and stared at the screen. The words were simple, but behind them was an ocean of emotion. They wanted to ask how you were. They wanted to tell you that they had been thinking about you. They wanted to say that time had not erased what they shared. But before they pressed send, the unexpected challenge appeared. At first, it looked like another delay. Another inconvenience. Something temporary. Yet as they looked closer, they realized it could affect not only when they returned, but how they returned. It forced them to confront something they had been avoiding for a long time. Something connected to their past, their responsibilities, and the fear that they might bring confusion back into your life instead of peace. This challenge is not another person replacing you. Do not let fear rush ahead of the message. It is deeper than jealousy and more personal than competition. Your soulmate has been forced to face the consequences of choices made while they were emotionally disconnected from their truth. They created commitments, expectations, and situations that now cannot be abandoned carelessly. They know that returning to you without resolving these matters could cause pain. They know that love alone does not excuse chaos. And for the first time, they are beginning to understand that if they come back, they must come back differently. This is why you may have felt their energy drawing near and then suddenly pulling away. One day, the connection feels strong. You wake with their name in your mind. You feel as though a message is coming. Your heart becomes strangely hopeful for no visible reason. Then the next day, everything feels silent again. You question whether you imagined it. You wonder whether your intuition can be trusted. But the movement is real. The silence is not always rejection. Sometimes silence is where a person gathers the courage to become accountable. Your soulmate is standing between two versions of themselves. One version wants to run toward you immediately, driven by longing, loneliness, and the fear of losing you forever. The other version knows that a rushed return could repeat the same mistakes that separated you. They are being asked to choose maturity over impulse, truth over convenience, and responsibility over temporary emotional relief. Heaven is not preventing their return. Heaven is refining it. There are things you have prayed for that cannot arrive in the form they once existed. You asked for restoration, but restoration without transformation would only reopen the wound. You asked for communication, but words without honesty would only confuse you. You asked for love, but love without emotional responsibility would leave you carrying the entire relationship alone again. You were not meant to be someone's temporary comfort while they remained unwilling to face themselves. You were not created to accept half-truths because you were afraid of losing the connection. You were not called to make yourself smaller so someone else could avoid growing. This unexpected challenge has become a mirror for your soulmate. It is showing them where they have lacked courage. It is showing them how their avoidance affected others. It is showing them the difference between missing you and being ready for you. And those are not the same thing. A person can miss your presence and still be unprepared to protect your heart. A person can love you and still lack the strength to communicate honestly. A person can dream about returning while continuing the habits that caused the separation. But now, something is pressing upon your soulmate's spirit with unusual intensity. They are beginning to understand that the door back to you is not opened by desire alone. It is opened by truth. That truth has shaken them. They thought they could simply return and explain everything later. They thought their emotions would be enough to convince you that things had changed. But the challenge revealed a hidden weakness in their plan. It showed them that there are unresolved matters you deserve to know before you allow them close again. It showed them that if they hide even one important detail, the foundation will remain unstable. They are now asking themselves questions they avoided before. What will happen when you ask why they stayed away so long? What will they say when you ask whether they thought about your feelings? How will they explain the choices they made during the silence? Will you believe them when they say they have changed? Will you still see the person you once loved, or will you see someone who arrived too late? These questions are keeping them awake. They know you are not the same person they left behind. You have grown in places they have not witnessed. You have cried tears they never saw. You have fought private battles they know nothing about. You have learned how to survive without the answers you once begged for. And this is what frightens them most. They are not only afraid that you have moved on. They are afraid that you have discovered your worth so deeply that you will no longer accept the version of love they once offered. They sense that you will not be persuaded by promises alone. They know you will watch their actions. They know you will notice every inconsistency. They know your heart may still be gentle, but your spirit has become wiser. Your soulmate is preparing to meet a stronger version of you. Do not mistake this preparation for indifference. Beneath their hesitation is an emotional storm they have told almost no one about. There is someone around them who has noticed the change. This person has seen them become distracted. They have heard your soulmate mention your name indirectly. They have watched them stare into the distance as if replaying a memory. They asked what was wrong, and your soulmate tried to avoid the question. But eventually, something slipped out. They admitted that there was someone they never truly got over. They did not reveal every detail. They did not explain the whole story. But the emotion in their voice said more than the words. The person listening understood immediately that this was not a passing thought. They could see that your soulmate was carrying unfinished love. That conversation became another turning point. For the first time, your soulmate heard themselves speak the truth aloud. It sounded different outside their mind. More real. More urgent. They could no longer pretend the connection was only nostalgia. They could no longer hide behind the excuse that too much time had passed. Saying it aloud awakened the part of them that had been waiting for permission to act. The person they spoke to asked a simple question, "Then why have you not gone back?" Your soulmate had no easy answer. They mentioned timing. They mentioned circumstances. They mentioned fear. But beneath every explanation was the real reason. They did not know whether they could face what they had done, what they had failed to do, and what they might discover when they finally heard your side. The unexpected challenge intensified after that conversation. A situation they thought was under control suddenly demanded attention. An old responsibility resurfaced. A promise they made to someone had consequences. A family matter, financial concern, personal obligation, or emotional entanglement became impossible to ignore. They realized they could not simply disappear from their current life and arrive at your door expecting love to solve everything. This has created tension within them. Part of them believes they should wait until everything is perfectly resolved. But another part knows that waiting for perfection may become another excuse. Life rarely becomes completely clear before important decisions. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be something unfinished. The real question is whether they can communicate honestly while they work through the challenge. They are learning that returning to you does not require pretending they have no problems. It requires the courage to tell you the truth about those problems. There is a message forming in their heart. It may not arrive in the exact way you expect. It may begin casually because they are afraid of overwhelming you. It may look like a simple question. It may come through an unexpected platform, a mutual connection, or a moment that feels almost accidental. But beneath the ordinary opening will be something much deeper. They will be watching your response carefully. Not because they want to manipulate you, but because they are terrified that your silence will confirm their greatest fear, that they lost access to your heart forever. Yet before that message comes, there is something you must understand. You are not being asked to place your life on hold. You are not being told to chase them, rescue them, or carry the weight of their challenge. Their growth is their responsibility. Their honesty is their responsibility. Their return is their responsibility. Your role is to remain rooted in truth. Do not abandon your peace because you feel movement around this connection. Do not interpret every sign as a command to act. Do not send a message from anxiety simply because the silence feels intense. You have already done enough reaching in ways no one saw. You have already carried conversations alone in your mind. You have already imagined explanations for behavior that wounded you. Now, the path is shifting. The person who once expected you to understand without being given the truth is being called to speak. The person who remained distant while you questioned yourself is being called to step forward. The person who believed there would always be more time is realizing that time is not promised. Something recently happened that made this realization impossible to ignore. Your soulmate saw or heard something that made them believe you may be entering a new chapter without them. Perhaps your energy changed. Perhaps someone mentioned you. Perhaps they saw evidence that you are healing, growing, or becoming less emotionally available to the past. It may have been a small detail, but it struck them deeply. For the first time, returning no longer felt like a possibility they could postpone. It felt like a decision that might soon be taken out of their hands. They imagined you giving your heart to someone else. They imagined another person receiving the tenderness they once took for granted. They imagined hearing that you were happy, peaceful, and deeply loved, and realizing they were no longer part of the story. The thought did not make them angry. It humbled them. They understood that your life was never meant to remain frozen while they gathered courage. They understood that love does not grant ownership. They understood that if they want a place in your future, they must earn trust in the present. This is where the challenge changed everything. Before, they planned to return when they felt ready. Now, they realize readiness may not arrive as a feeling. It may arrive as a choice made while fear is still present. They may never feel completely confident. They may never find the perfect words. They may never be able to guarantee the outcome. But they can choose honesty. They can choose to stop hiding. They can choose to tell you why they left, what happened during the distance, and what they are facing now. They can choose to accept that you may need time. They can choose to listen without demanding immediate forgiveness. This transformation is still unfolding. There are moments when they feel strong enough to do it, and moments when the old fear returns. They imagine your voice. They imagine the silence after they reveal the truth. They imagine whether your heart will soften or whether the wounds are too deep. But the pressure within them is growing. What they feel for you has become impossible to contain in the old ways. They are tired of speaking to you only in their thoughts. They are tired of visiting memories instead of creating new ones. They are tired of wondering whether the connection could have survived if they had been braver. And there is more. The unexpected challenge has revealed something about their feelings that even they did not understand before. They once believed they wanted you because you made them feel loved. But now, stripped of comfort and forced to face themselves, they realize they love you because you saw them more clearly than anyone else did. You saw the strength they tried to hide behind indifference. You saw the fear beneath their silence. You saw the tenderness beneath their guarded behavior. You believed in parts of them they had abandoned. And this is why returning feels both beautiful and terrifying. With you, they cannot pretend. Your presence invites truth. Your eyes, your energy, your way of listening, it makes hiding difficult. They know that coming back means being seen again. Not only as the person they hope to become, but as the person who made mistakes. They are afraid you will see everything. Yet somewhere inside them, they also know that this is exactly what they need. The challenge is pushing them toward a decision that will affect both of your lives. They can continue protecting their image, or they can risk being known. They can remain in the familiar discomfort of silence, or they can enter the uncertainty of truth. They can keep wondering, or they can finally ask whether there is still a path between you. Heaven is not promising that every moment will be easy. Real restoration is rarely effortless. There may be tears. There may be difficult questions. There may be truths that need time to process. But difficulty does not always mean danger. Sometimes difficulty is the doorway through which mature love must pass. You have been prepared for this conversation in ways you do not yet recognize. Every season of silence strengthened your discernment. Every unanswered question taught you to listen to actions. Every disappointment helped you separate fantasy from truth. You are no longer approaching this connection from desperation. You are approaching it from awareness. That changes everything. When your soulmate returns, they may expect to meet the version of you who once would have accepted any explanation just to keep them close. But they will discover that your love has boundaries now. Your compassion has wisdom. Your hope has standards. You can forgive without forgetting what the experience taught you. This does not make you cold. It makes you ready. And your readiness is part of why the return is happening now. Had they come earlier, you might have abandoned yourself to keep them. Had they returned before facing this challenge, they might have repeated the same patterns. The delay has not been meaningless. Pain was never the goal, but growth has emerged from it. Still, one final truth remains hidden. There is a specific reason the challenge appeared at the exact moment they decided to contact you. It was not random timing. It exposed a secret fear they have carried since the beginning of your connection. A fear connected to commitment, responsibility, and the possibility that loving you fully would require them to change a part of their life they have protected for years. They have never told you this fear. They may have given you other explanations. They may have blamed circumstances, distance, confusion, or timing. But beneath those reasons was something far more personal. Something they were ashamed to admit. Recently, the challenge forced this fear into the open. Your soulmate was given a choice. One path would keep their current life stable but emotionally empty. The other path would move them closer to you but require a sacrifice they never believed they would be asked to make. For days, they have been standing between those paths. And now, a decision has been made. Your soulmate has chosen what they are willing to release. They have chosen what they can no longer pretend is enough. They have chosen to stop allowing fear to write the ending of your story. But just as they prepared to take the first real step toward you, they discovered one final piece of information, something about the past, something involving a conversation you may not even know happened, and something that could completely change what they plan to say when they return. They have been staring at this truth in silence. They know they cannot come back without revealing it. They know it may answer one of the biggest questions you have carried. And they know that once you hear it, neither of you will ever see the separation the same way again.